So my proposal would be, of all of the exceptions, we add a groin shot exception to the rules, because I had honestly not thought about that specifically, because that is the exact sort of thing where it's like, I need a minute, literally
Yeah.
just 30 to 45 seconds to walk it off and try and act tough, and then like I can get back into playing. There are more exceptions. And one of them is interesting. I feel like it could be exploited if you and Inter Miami wanted to use this. It said instances when two players on the same team require medical staff to enter the field for an injury. So maybe if you do take a groin shot, somebody else can just pretend to go down,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, you like you remove the 2-minute penalty. Welcome to the Player Manager Podcast. We are back for episode 7. I'm Zealand Shannon, your favorite football or soccer YouTuber, depending on what parlance you choose, and joined by my co-host, as always, Inter Miami's Julian Gressel, coming off yet another victory. Gotta be getting old.
It never gets old to win, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm tired because I stay up till 2 a.m. every night, but as I've just discovered, you apparently go to bed right after the end of the recording of this podcast. What is your secret to getting to bed before 10?
Yeah, it's just kids and the busy schedule.
That's true. That's a very simple explanation. Outside of Julian's sleep schedule, we do have a lot on the dock this week from another Inter Miami win, 3-1 at home against Nashville, keeping them top of the Eastern Conference, an officiating meltdown in Europe that, of course, we're going to talk about, and new rules being introduced in MLS that Julian may or may not be a fan of. And, of course, we will announce the winner of that signed Julian Gressel jersey contest. My fingers and toes are crossed. I hope I won. And of course, don't forget to subscribe and rate the podcast on Spotify if you haven't already, or Apple Podcasts, wherever you happen to listen. Leave us a 5-star review, obviously, because you love us, and a review as well, because we might read it on show. And I promised that I would do this in a British accent, so here we go. Prepare yourself, Julian. 4Lom44 left a lovely review, and it was, as an Inter Miami fan of a few years, now I love the insight into the team and this podcast. Keep up the great work, guys. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate
that was nice. Yeah.
Good job. My hero is David Attenborough. I want to be narrating Planet Earth at some point in the future. But if you leave a review, I may or may not read it in a British accent, or we can have Julian Gressel try to do an accent as well. I'm thinking Texas. How's that sound for you?
Oof. You gotta tell me how that. I guess I would probably know that. Yeah.
Okay.
Or Boston, since it's kind of fitting. You know, we play against Boston next week, so
that would be nice. Okay, so next week it would be, if you leave a review next week, it would be Julian Gressel and his that might be cheating though, because you did go to Providence. That's close.
It's close. The neighborhood. Yeah, and my wife's family is all from Boston, so I've been exposed to it quite a bit. Yeah.
So you probably get a pretty good accent. All right. Yeah, we'd have everybody listening, right? Whether I have a better English accent or you have a better Boston accent. I'm excited, and I will be emotionally affected by the outcome of that vote. But
I think the main point is for everybody to just leave us a good review, right? That's
okay. I'm getting distracted. I'm getting distracted in the competition. The point is for the good review to be a thing. And the other point is to make sure that we keep up with everything that's going on with Inter Miami, which of course was a win. You only had one match to play today, which this week must have felt unusual. But you guys did come out with the win, even though you conceded first again.
Lovitz with that delivery, and they have now. Super delivery from Lovitz, and it's redirected home. Talk about a perfect start for Gary Smith's men.
Why does that keep happening?
Yeah, it's frustrating, to be honest. It's a little bit of obviously a pattern that we've gotten ourselves into, which isn't great in my opinion. In general, I think we concede too many goals, and that's something that we definitely are aware of and we need to work on. Going in later into the season, where we're having a really tough time keeping shutouts and keeping zeros and getting leads early in games. Because every time I feel like, I don't know, it almost takes us a little bit to wake up, which has been a theme from the very beginning of the year. And that's something, I feel like we need to be a team more that, comes out, puts a stamp on the game and kind of shows immediately that there's nothing to be gained from this game to the opponent. And we always kind of give them a little bit of life, and it kind of takes us, I guess, a little bit to wake up, and we need a wake up call at the moment. And it's definitely not something I love being on the field.
Yeah, well, I guess there's always going to be a problem, though. I know I led you into it, but still top of the Eastern Conference. And you guys came storming back. It was a brace from Lionel Messi because he had to get his goals in. And Sergio scored his first ever MLS goal, which must have been a fun moment.
We'll be worried about that one. Panago's beat at the near post. It's it. Messi's delivery was world class.
Yeah, it was a great moment where there was a funny moment, like I think leading up to the game during the week. He was standing with his wife in the middle of the field, and they were doing a gender reveal thing for I guess his wife was pregnant, and they're doing a gender reveal. So I was like, oh man, this would be a special time for him to kind of score and celebrate with the ball under his jersey. And truth be told, 3 days later, he it actually ended up coming true like that, where I had kind of the vision, I want to say, before when I saw that video. I was like, what a great timing for him. Obviously, congrats to him and to his wife. And what a great time to score the goal, and especially in a big way for us in that moment to I think the 2-1 it was. And yeah, we never looked back from there.
A good win, 3-1. But how did they do the gender reveal? Did they use like the video board? Did they have a jet fly over?
Yeah, almost. No, I think if you go on his Instagram, on Busquets' Instagram, he had a reel posted there where literally they stand in a center circle and there's just like these just cannons going off in blue. I think it was a boy. I was like, oh man, I'm surprised they got to clear the field of the color. To be honest, in time for the game. But they did the video board, they did the cake, they did everything. Yeah.
I can imagine whoever's in charge of the grounds crew just sitting in the corner of the stadium watching like blue cannons go off in the middle of the field. Like, oh, I'm gonna have a long night tonight. Yeah. Was there anything else you guys took away from the game? Obviously, you're very familiar with the opponent, Nashville. There's familiarity breeding contempt in some cases.
Yeah, I mean, it was honestly a strange game in my opinion. It was a game where we never really found a good rhythm. I felt we never really were able to create a ton of chances. They had some really good chances, especially early on. So we got a little bit lucky in that sense, but we weren't really able to kind of play us into a flow. And that was a little bit of credit to them, but also I think a little bit of lack on our part, and something that we need to work on moving forward, especially at home. We need to be on the front foot. We need to be controlling the games, and I think in a better way. And but again, we come back from an early knock and show good spirit, show good mentality. Obviously, Leo's on fire, and he scores 2 great goals to kind of give us that piece of quality that we need in those moments. But again, we'll take the 3 points. We're at home. We've won now 2 in a row. We're still first, the East, as well as the Supporters Shield. And yeah, we'll take it. Keep going next week away again, and hopefully keep riding that win wave and collecting points as much as we can, even if we keep picking up injuries and we can't seem to catch a break with any of that. It's incredible. I joked to you before this podcast. I was like, you gotta be watch out that you don't get injured during this recording here. So all these injuries happening around me, I don't want to bring that juju on you.
No, I've got some bad news for you, honestly, because I play rec league soccer every weekend, and I legitimately did tweak my knee last weekend. I am not even kidding.
Oh man,
I had a knee reconstruction in college. For those that aren't caught up on their Zealand lore, and I play goalkeeper, and it was a 1v1, and I actually did make the save. I got hit in the face, which seems to be a really permanent hazard of the job currently, and. But he changed direction and my knee just got caught under me, and I heard it like, just say it was a little uncomfortable. Let's just say it needs a little WD-40 the last couple of days to kind of get out of bed now. It's not doing well. But you mentioned the injuries, obviously, and it wasn't just me, but Diego Gomez got hurt. It was not a battle without casualties against Nashville, and it was not a good one. He got stretchered off, and it looks like he's going to be out for a while. I've got the club announced he's going to be out for 6 weeks. I mean, what happens inside of a club when people keep dropping like flies like this?
Yeah, it's just, I actually spoke to, I think, our chief medical officer when we were having dinner after the game, since my family didn't go to the game. It was too late. I had time to kind of sit down and chat a little bit with some staffers. And yeah, he's like, this place is just haunted. It's incredible how many injuries we pick up. And I mean, this one is just an unfortunate one, where I think he tries to intercept the ball and his ankle kind of, or his foot kind of rolls over the ball and it gets stuck almost, and he just rolls the ankle. And yeah, I saw him after the game. He seemed pretty bummed about it. I mean, the club announced he'll be out 6 weeks. Hopefully it'll be less than that. But, this is a player that obviously in 6 weeks' time or a little bit after that, he wanted to be part of a Copa America for Paraguay. He wanted to be part of the Olympics for Paraguay. So, there's some of that international stuff at stake as well. And that's obviously hurts me because he's such a good guy and he's such a hard worker. And one of the good young kids that works hard, that is humble, that is super nice, and that deserves nothing but the best because he plays the game the right way, in my opinion. And unfortunate to kind of have this happen to him just before those tournaments. But, and obviously we'll miss him quite a bit. He's been great for us over the last months. And, like I said, hopefully it'll be quicker than the 6 weeks. But tweaked ankle, you can play on it, and I've certainly played on it, but it takes a lot longer to heal up when you don't get it right. And I'm not sure if there's any more structural damage to it or not. I don't think there is. I don't think the bone, obviously the bone might be bruised as well, but that's kind of part of it. But really, really tough break for him.
No, those ankles, I feel like they never heal completely. I think I still have a swollen ankle from sophomore year of high school that's never quite gone back to the way that it was supposed to be. Like you just find your new normal. But
exactly. They just kind of linger, and that's the problem. If you don't heal him right and you don't get him kind of 100%, then like you make one wrong move, one wrong cut on the wrong part of the field where it's a little bit softer, a little bit harder, and it just jams, and then you're right back to kind of where you were a week or two ago. And that's just those are tough.
And the injury bug might haunt you a little bit going into this weekend as well, because whether it's true or not, there is a bit of a hoodoo around turf fields. That they had the big debate in the NFL. Obviously, FIFA says that there's no turf fields allowed for the World Cup, so a couple of the stadiums in the U.S. are going to have to change. But you guys this weekend will be playing on turf at Foxborough in Massachusetts against the Revolution. How does what do you think about playing on turf? Like, I'm just curious about where your mindset is at with the whole. Every player seems to have an opinion about why playing on turf may be a bad thing or whether it is or not.
For me, it's always a tough one because I played turf my whole career in college. So all 4 seasons. I played turf my first 3 years in Atlanta. Not training on turf, but I obviously played the games there in the stadium. So I kind of have, I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I prefer grass 100%. It's something that I think a good grass field is obviously, top. And that's something that I think is better for us players, for the health of it. I feel better after grass games, where on turf, usually like my ankles and my knees, they're a bit more sore. It's a bit tougher to kind of recover, like those little things you definitely feel. But at the same time, if it's a good turf, like the one we played in Atlanta, for example, the Atlanta one for me is really good. You know what you get, you know how fast it plays, you know the ball will roll nice, there's no weird bounces, nothing like that. I don't mind that type of turf, but the one in New England usually isn't the greatest, I want to say.
Very diplomatic.
We'll see how it goes. Obviously, it's a special week for me because I'm going to Boston, so I'm just excited for that game. Since like you said, I played at Providence, which is not too far from there, and have a lot of family and friends up there, so it'll be a special game for me in that sense. So the field for me is a little bit secondary, but for some other of my teammates, it might not be.
Right. Well, for first on the good stuff, then what else do you have planned around the game today? Are you going to a big dinner with everybody, or you're just handing out 100 tickets before the game, or how's it working?
Yeah, I wish I could do dinner, to be honest, because Province College actually has their alumni weekend, or the men's soccer program has their alumni game that day actually as well. So
Oh, that's awesome.
if we had stayed in Providence, I would have probably been able to get over there, but I don't think we're staying in Providence, unfortunately, in the hotel. So we'll be too far away for me to go there on game day. But yeah, I mean, I got my wife's family requested a bunch of tickets, and obviously some guys from PC, some of my old teammates. Big shout out to them; they support me a lot, and they're coming to the game. I could have probably gotten a lot more tickets than what I actually ended up getting now because I think the game is almost sold out. So it's going to be a packed Gillette Stadium, which I've only seen in football games, never seen for a soccer game. So that'll be really, really cool. Another really big crowd. And two, the tickets I would have had to purchase were really, really expensive, to be honest with you. So some guys were like, yeah, I think we're just going to do a watch party in the area, and maybe we'll come see you at the hotel. I was like, all right, that's fair enough too. I don't want to make you go to the game. We have to, spend that much money, but it'll be a special. Like I said, it'll be special. There's a good amount of people in the stands, and that's where I watched my first MLS game ever. So
Really?
it's always cool to I watched. I think it was Orlando against the Revs back my sophomore year or something, for 2014.
Were
I
you
want to say.
watching that game thinking, "Oh, I'm going to be out there someday. This is going to be me."
I was hoping so. Yes, but I think Kaká was still playing, but he ended up not coming because of the turf. He didn't play because of the turf, so I was
Oh,
disappointed in that. But Jermaine Jones, I think, was on the Revs, I want to say, and it was just like it was a cool experience for me. First MLS game and at Gillette Stadium, and now I'm back. Obviously, I've played there many times before, but I always enjoy playing there. It's always special place.
and you mentioned that you were saying Kaká did not play because of the turf. Is that going to happen with any of the four amigos on Inter Miami? Perhaps you've got Suarez, particularly. You said the knees and ankles got more sore, and the first thing I thought of was Luis Suarez because obviously his knee issues are well documented. He just kind of guts it out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he played last year in the Brazilian league. I don't think he played on turf. And I mean, I think he has some concerns around it. I haven't asked specifically any of the trainers or him or Luis directly about what his status will be for this week. So I'm not 100% sure on this, but I'm assuming that he doesn't want to risk it, and he kind of sees the long term health as more important, which I totally understand if that's the case. But we've also had the last 2 days off, so I haven't been in. We haven't had training, so I have been
Oh,
able to enjoy a little bit here at home with my family. And I will ask tomorrow or Wednesday, kind of when we start preparing the game. Really, then that's when I'm sure we'll find out, and I'll know who and what will be available for the game. But I think he is the only one that I think there's a little bit of a question mark. The others, I think, should be okay. I want to say, obviously,
so yeah,
Jordi Alba's hurt, but
yeah,
the other
but
two should be okay.
there's no rumblings that Lionel Messi's gonna not play in the 11th hour because of the turf or anything.
Not from what I've heard, no.
But the
So he'll
2 days
be
off must have been nice with the family. Is the whole family coming up from Miami to Boston as well?
no, unfortunately not. I think it's too much for my wife to ask her to travel with a 3.5-year-old and a 10-month-old on the plane by herself, and then navigate to a rental car. Yeah, she would probably love to see her family and stuff, but it's a little too much, too short of a trip. Where I actually have 2 days off after this game again, so we'll be able to enjoy those 2 days as well here in Miami with nicer weather. Where in Boston it's still like 50s or something like that. So
It is.
we're South
Yeah.
Florida people now. It's that's really cold.
This is like the inverse relationship because I'm over here. It's like 50 degrees in New York, and I'm like, no, it's actually pretty nice out. It's been really miserable here for 4 months, 6 months, or whatever it has been. I'm finally seeing the sun, and I confuse that for being a great day. But in terms of the match itself, how do you feel like you guys square up with the New England Revolution this year?
I mean, I think the Revs had obviously not the greatest start, I think, to their season. So they're struggling a bit with a new coach.
They are in last place, so I just didn't want to bring that up in the question. But New England
Yeah.
has played 8 matches; they have lost 6 of them. Yeah,
Yeah, so first against last, I think we know where the pressure lies, right? And I think we've talked about this before. The pressure is always on us, home or away, to dictate play, to win in dominant fashion, and then that won't be different, going into this one. Obviously, we know those games are huge for every opponent, especially like Kansas. This will be just as big for New England, where they sell out the stadium. They want to show well in front of fans. They want to make sure fans come back, and it's a big opportunity for a club like that. And we know that we got to be ready for tough games. There's not an easy game in MLS, and going to New England on turf with a full stadium, against a team that maybe hasn't been doing so well is still very, very hard. And we got to be ready for that. We got to be aware of that. And, but again, I'm expecting us to come out on the front foot and kind of trying to play our way and trying to obviously win the game at the end of the day and stay on top of the East.
And we will be back here talking about it whether you do or not. So at least there's a comforting end to your to your week either way. The next thing we wanted to talk about, though, if we'll leave the specific Inter Miami business in the past, is something that I brought up on stream today, and I'm basically skipping forward to it because I am so excited to talk about it. And that is, there are new rules being implemented in MLS. They have been implemented. They were trialed last year in MLS Next Pro, which is basically the MLS Reserve League. And there's 3 different rules that are being implemented. When I went over them on stream, right, which we've got the people that come in and watch the stream, they're a great cross-section of people from all around the world. So we got a good feedback from kind of everybody. Everybody seemed to like the rules, at least the way they're written down. But the reason I'm so excited to talk about them with you is because there's a difference between the way something is written down and the way that it is implemented and how it feels as a player. So we'll just kind of go one at a time for those that have not heard what the rules are. The first one is a timed substitution rule. And that rule states, as has been presented to me here, any player that is being substituted out of the match has a maximum of 10 seconds to leave the field of play. If a player does not leave the field of play within 10 seconds, the replacement player shall only be eligible to enter the field of play, which is a phrase they really overuse, upon the first play stoppage following a 60-second holding period. Basically, the sub can't come in for 60 seconds. This was implemented at the 1st of April, right? So you've had a little experience with this already?
No, this was the first game.
So the game against Nashville was the first game. Okay.
It was supposed to be there from the beginning of the season, but with the referee strike and the replacement referees, they didn't implement it until now.
Okay. And you got to have an experience with this because you were subbed out in the 74th minute. And what did you make it off in 10 seconds? Like, how did this work?
I did. I made it off in 10 seconds. I made sure to make it off, and I counted the seconds in my head.
Okay.
So there you go. I was like, as soon as, because the signal is when the sign goes up. So the fourth official puts the sign up, and it says your number, and that's when you have 10 seconds basically to get off. So for me, I had known about 4 or 5 minutes prior to me actually being subbed out that I was getting subbed out. So I had known that at that moment, as soon as kind of the sub is ready to come in, that I was going to come out because the referee had told me so 4 to 5 minutes before. Once they were kind of getting the sub ready and everything, the ref during the middle of the play came over to me and was like, "Hey, make sure you get off the field quick enough. You're about to be subbed out here." I was like, "Yeah, sure. Let me just worry about defending here for a second, and then I'll make sure to worry about the substitution after." So I got an early heads up there that I was going to get subbed out. So yeah, I did make it off. But then, as the sign came up, the referee also comes over to you and like tells you basically where to exit, where he wants you to exit, and how quickly he wants you to exit there. So there's really no confusion in a sense, or no unless you make really a meal of it and you really try and waste time, then it was pretty strict. But for me, it was an easy, simple first experience where obviously we were up, so I kind of wanted to take my time a little bit, but you
didn't want to get off in 5 seconds. You wanted to get off in 9.5 seconds.
Exactly. But at the same time, you don't want to risk it, right? You don't want to give the referee a chance to kind of be the first one to make that. So I was just
they're probably itching to apply the new rule, just to see how it feels the first time and just hold the guy over on the side. But I'll be honest, the first time I read this, I was worried that 10 seconds wasn't enough time. Do you feel like, well, I guess if the referee's showing you what direction they want you to leave the field, then it's hard for them to be like too harsh on you. But if you're right in the middle of the field, and even at a slight jog, at 10 seconds, you might not make it off the field, right? That was my first impression.
Yeah, that's why I don't like, from my understanding, obviously we have these referee meetings and all that stuff where this gets presented and everything, where it's not like the fourth official stands there with the timestamp or the time watch and times you to come out within 10 seconds. It's like, as long as you don't delay it by 15, 20, 25 seconds, take your shin guards off, take all your tape off, clap the fans.
Yeah.
Yes, all those things. Then I feel like as long as you kind of like jog and then maybe walk the last few yards or whatever, I think it's okay. Where, like I said, as long as you don't piss him off in a way where like he's telling you to get off here, but no, you're going off the other direction or whatever, then I think it's okay, and it's not, even if it's 11 seconds, it would be fine.
I'll say I absolutely love the change in practice. And then I actually have numbers to back it up in MLS Next Pro, because they had a trial year down there. 99.7% of substitutions were completed within the 10-second window.
Wow.
I feel like that means literally like there was one time that they called it, but it seems to be very effective, because not having a player on the field for an entire minute plus until the next whistle, that's like a really serious punishment to have.
Yeah, it's definitely, for sure. That's why, like I said, you don't want to be the guy getting subbed out already. So the coach must be not, or maybe he's just subbing you for a different reason. But if he's upset at you already, and then you make that mistake too, is something you're not excited. The coach will not be excited about. But
did Tata Martino sit everybody down and go, okay, guys, this rule is in effect for this game? Just no. Like, how were you aware that it was coming into play for the Nashville game?
Leading up to the game, throughout the week, the new rule changes were posted on, like, in the training room, and then the assistant coach kind of made a quick mention just before we went out to warm-ups again, just to remind guys. But I think the next one is actually even more controversial, I think for me, than the substitution rule.
It is. So just to preface, both the first two changes are designed to try and reduce the dark arts. Like, they're trying to reduce the amount of time loss that happens in the game with, just think of Atletico Madrid. If Atletico Madrid would do it, then that's what they're kind of trying to get out of the game, the 30 to 40 second subs or whatever. And that's what they're removing with the time substitution rule. The second rule, and I'll read it and then we can talk about it, is, as Julian was alluding to, is the off-field treatment rule. And it is, I also think, a little more controversial. And the rule reads, if the referee stops play due to a potential player injury in which the player remains on the ground for more than 15 seconds, which I would imagine is kind of like the 10-second thing, if they remain on the ground longer than I'm down and I get back up when the referee asks me to, and the medical staff enters the field of play, the player may be required to leave the field of play for 2 minutes. The 2-minute treatment period begins once the ball is put back in play. Time is kept by the fourth official with support of the assistant video referee. So basically the VAR guy. There are exceptions to this. I want to read them before we dive into this. The player indicates to the referee that he doesn't need medical staff to enter the field of play, basically gets up in 15 seconds. The player voluntarily removes himself from the field of play to receive treatment from medical staff. Head injury or suspected head injuries, obviously life-threatening or cardiac issues. And if the player is injured on a foul that resulted in a yellow or red card, they are not punished by being off the field for 2 minutes. You said this was controversial, so the floor is yours, Julian. What is controversial about it?
Well, I think there's plays where sometimes, I don't know, you get the wind knocked out of you a little bit, or you get the ball hits you in your private parts, and you kind of need a little bit longer than 15 seconds, but you know that, treatment isn't necessarily necessary. You kind of just need to have like a little breather here. And as soon as the ref comes over and asks you, because this is what is supposed to happen, right? You get down or whatever, the ref comes over to ask you, hey, do you need treatment? You say, no, just give me a second. He's like, all right, play on. And then he like gives the ball free, and then you gotta keep playing, even though you're kind of like, I don't know, you know that you would be fine if you just had 15, 20 seconds to kind of breathe. And you don't need to have treatment or anything like that, where if he comes over and you say, yeah, I need treatment, then you come off, and then you're being kept off the field for, what was it, 2 minutes?
Yeah, 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes at least. And
It's a long time to just stand there for 2 minutes. I mean, that's, so
it's tough.
Again, these things are, it's not as black and white in my opinion, because I get you don't want to do the simulation and all those types of things, but there's actually things that do hurt for about 30 to 45 seconds, and then they go away as you kind of like walk it off. And that is something that doesn't really account for that, in my opinion. And I hope that there'll be some discretion within that moving forward.
Right.
I haven't been a part of, this wasn't part of the Nashville game. I think one instance where I was like, oh man, that was a foul. And the ref, like I said, came over, and then we kind of just ignored the player because the player knew that he had to get up. So he like tried to like get up immediately again and continue to play, which, I guess is a good thing. And you try and toughen things out, but at the same time, sometimes there's just things that take a little bit longer than the 15 seconds that would be fine without the treatment of 2 minutes.
Right. So my proposal would be, of all of the exceptions, we add a groin shot exception to the rules. Because I had honestly not thought about that specifically, because that is the exact sort of thing where it's like, I need a minute. Literally just 30 to 45 seconds to walk it off and try and act tough. And then like I can get back into playing. But that is a very real situation where those 2 minutes would be, you'd just be getting punished essentially for getting hit in the wrong part of your body. And that would suck. There are more exceptions. And one of them is interesting. I feel like it could be exploited if you and Inter Miami wanted to use this. It said instances when two players on the same team require medical staff to enter the field for an injury. So maybe if you do take a groin shot, somebody else can just pretend to go down. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you remove the 2 minute penalty. There's also like if a player is bleeding, it doesn't count. Collisions involving the goalkeeper and an opposing player where both players require attention, and penalty kick situations when the potentially injured player is the penalty taker. So there's actually a ton of exceptions to this rule. And I'm going to be honest, if I'm a referee, and I'm already worried about trying to make sure people are getting off the field every 10 seconds. And I'm also worried with the very difficult task of officiating a game. Trying to remember all of these exceptions would be exhausting. I mean, there's like at least 12 different exceptions where I feel like all of these exceptions are just lawyer speak to say, use your discretion. Like if you don't think that this is some sort of simulation thing, or I guess if you're a ref and you don't want to punish them for it, you can hand out like a soft yellow card and then that waives the 2 minute. There's a lot of weird gray areas in this rule that I don't know if I like or not.
But that's why there's like, 6 refs now at one of these games? Or like 3?
At least 4. I mean, you got the 2 linesmen, center ref, 5 at least. Well, you have the VAR guy.
And there's an assistant VAR too.
I think 6.
If 1 or even 2. I'm not sure. But yeah, so there's enough referees watching or being part of the game, I think, that I hope they would know all the rules.
Somebody's going to remember all the exceptions. I can see the assistant VAR guy sitting there. Like you guys have the rules printed out at your training ground. Yeah, they have it just on the wall of the VAR booth. They're like, oh, he's bleeding. Yep. Nope. Not 2 minutes. All right. Like he's in his ear. By the way, let's not punish him. I like it. I don't think there's a right way to do this. Unfortunately, I think it's one of those rules that has to be fleshed out over a few years of being trialed. I don't have any fun stats to throw around about how effective it was on like the time substitution rule where it's pretty cut and dry, like 99.7% of the time people got off the field, it was fine. So I don't really know how the whole years long test went, but I'm assuming if they're implementing it in MLS, then if they're implementing it in MLS, then that means it must have passed muster in some way. Like there at least wasn't some horrible incident where some guy tried to tough it out and made an injury much worse.
Yeah, I think so. And I think ultimately it cuts out the fakeness, right? And then the trying to just stay down. And when you're down and when you're behind and when you're trying to chase the game, like this stuff actually is really annoying. So
no, it annoys me watching the game. I can only imagine how annoying it is playing the game to watch somebody rolling around that you barely touched.
Yeah, no, for sure. So those things definitely, it's good that it's being cut out. But again, there's instances where we're really hurt, like a cramp, for example, too. you get a cramp and it takes a little bit longer than 15 seconds to just go away. And now all of a sudden you have to leave for 2 minutes. That's a long time too. So,
man, you can get cramps to go away for 15 seconds. I get a cramp and I'm down for like 2 days. You guys are freaking superhuman out here. There is a third change. But this one, for me, this weirdly, and this might surprise you, for me, this seems like a no-brainer. For the global audience of the stream, this was their least favorite of all three.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the change is VAR announcements. That's the change. Essentially, the ref's mic now links to the stadium PA. And after a VAR review, they will click it on. Like if you watch American football or whatever, they'll click it on and say, number 7 was offside in the buildup. So that's why no goal. And they'll just explain the VAR decision, right? Because they don't do that really all over the world. And it's always kind of blown my mind. But the global audience of the stream, their biggest issue was like, oh, it's just going to slow down the VAR reviews even further. But I think that's just because they don't quite know how this would actually work. Like, this is not the long part of VAR reviews. This only takes a couple seconds.
Yeah, that, in my opinion, I think it's something good. I like this one because I saw it. Who was I watching when I came home after the game? It was like midnight or something, and I was still watching MLS games. I think it was in Vancouver and Seattle, where the Seattle player was a VAR for a red card, and it took a while for the review to happen. It wasn't a clear red, in my opinion, as well, so it took a while, and the ref took a good long look at it, and then I think before actually informing the players, so the players got the news through the announcement as well.
After review, number 25 Green committed a serious foul play offense. The final decision is red card.
Wow. So, and then he ran over to the player and said, no yellow card, and here's the red card. So it was interesting how he said player number whatever in green instead of Seattle Sounders number 22. I don't know.
That's something interesting is if you think about an NFL referee, for example, their whole career they've been doing this.
Yeah.
But for MLS refs or, any other league that happens to adopt this sort of plan, it's going to be their first time doing this. I mean, it's like a large public speaking event.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like you're going to get some really hilariously bad announcements of people just like tripping over their words or accidentally saying the wrong team or something. And it just like they don't know how to explain it because they're so used to just doing these hand signals. Like,
yeah, I know. It's funny.
So I can't wait for that. There's going to be some fantastic gaffes, but by and large, definitely a good thing. Hopefully they learn how to explain what's happening, because you're saying he just said there was serious foul play, but if you could describe what the serious foul play was, like, oh, its studs were way too high, or it was a reckless challenge, or he punched him in the face and that's why we're throwing him out, like any one of those sorts of things. I feel like that is what would make this the most helpful.
Yeah, I think that might come over time. This was, like I said, over like we said, the first weekend of kind of this happening, and I'm sure there'll be tweaks, there'll be details that will be included, especially on things that probably aren't as obvious to maybe the people in the stadium. So I'm sure they'll kind of announce it in the right ways moving forward. But again, I think it's a good thing. I hope there'll be some fine details where that'll be up to the referee's discretion a bit more, and it won't be as strict by the book. But in general, I like it, and I hope that it brings the game. It makes the game faster. Obviously, the off-field treatment and the substitution rule do, and the announcement one is just nice to have for the fans and the broadcast, obviously, to know what's going on.
Of course, we still have the announcement of who won the signed Julian Gressel jersey coming up, but it is now time to take a trip around the world. The world that is living in darkness without VAR announcements and 10-second substitutions. I don't know how they manage. And the world, which is obviously, you're playing for Inter Miami and you're involved in MLS. Well, the world is kind of where I live because I'm on the front lines every day having to talk to people about this stuff. And it is... I don't know how much this kind of comes through when you have a game on the weekend, but it has been chaos in Europe, particularly when it comes to refereeing decisions. Have you seen any of this stuff? Like, I know we were talking before the game about Ter Stegen talking about goal line technology, but how much of that comes through while you're playing matches like that? They're, Twitter and Instagram are having a meltdown about officiating in every league.
Yeah, it comes through. I follow the leagues, so obviously it comes through, and I feel like every weekend there's some sort of controversy about VAR and referees and everything. I mean, it's a big part of the game, right? And I think people didn't expect it to be that when it first got introduced, unfortunately. But now we're kind of here, and then every weekend there's something that is very, very controversial where either the referee didn't go to VAR or it went to VAR. And they used offside technology in the right or wrong way, like we'll talk about now. But it's something that obviously is a huge part of the game now these days, and it definitely comes through. And it's part of the game for us too, where at times you're like, oh, VAR is there. Let's hold off on celebrating. Like Messi scored the goal, for example, against Nashville, and you can kind of like see it in his face and his reaction after. He's like, I'm not sure if I'm offside or not.
Did he like say that? You guys start to celebrate, and he looks back at you, and he's like, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, he was like, like kind of like that face, kind of just like teeth, like shrugging his shoulders, and kind of just running back while high-fiving us. So like it was like I don't know if we should celebrate or not, but definitely, yeah, something where the ball kind of fell to him, and he was like, I'm not sure if I'm offside or not, but
so might as well score it and find out later.
Exactly. No, exactly. You're kind of just hesitant at times with how influential VAR is, but certainly that was one hell of a decision they made in the FA Cup semifinal.
It was. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to the La Liga goal line technology nonsense, but I just have to ask, because for me, I am actually sad that when I'm watching matches and a ball used to go in, you would know in 1 second or not whether it was a goal, and the celebrations could just kind of begin. You just look at the linesman and either the flag was up or it was down. That moment is like gone from football or soccer now. There is that delay. There's that kind of awkward pause. Do you miss the kind of freedom and the celebration that used to happen after a goal, or is it the price to pay to make sure it's always right?
It's a little bit the price to pay, but I mean, we always get told every year in the beginning of the season with the referees in the meetings that, I don't know, some 90-something% of goals or whatever are the right decision. So there's no VAR intervention. So make sure to celebrate and do all these things and don't worry about it. But then sometimes you're just in that, I don't know, 8% or whatever, where I guess there is VAR, and
so they tell you to celebrate. They're like, it sounds like they're almost worried about the fact that maybe some of those celebrations are being robbed from the game.
Yeah, I think they are certainly robbed from the game a little bit, where like one team is obviously hoping that there's VAR, so they all go, hey, this is the sign, do the check, make sure to check. And the other team is trying to celebrate. It's like, no, it's a good goal, like it's fine, celebrate. Yeah, so it's certainly a balance that you're trying to have to find, where some goals, obviously that are goals where they're like Busquets' goal, for example. We all know that was a good goal off the corner. There's nothing really controversial about that. But sometimes there's a goal scored and then all of a sudden he checks in the VAR and it takes a while. And I'm like, what even happened here? That could even potentially be a check. And those are the moments where you're like this is just strange, like why find something where there almost seems to be nothing? I guess maybe I just missed it, but
no, and that's kind of what happened in the FA Cup. But that brings up something that if I'm going to add, right, there's already 3 rule changes, which cool progress. A 4th rule change, or 3.5, is instead of just announcing after the decision is made, what they also do in the NFL, which I don't want to take every part of reviews in the NFL and apply them to soccer, but what they do in the NFL is they tell you what they're reviewing before they go in. I think that would be a really useful addition, because sometimes you're right. They're looking at an offside that was like pretty early in the play and nobody even noticed it at the time.
I want to say they are doing that in the stadiums now.
So that is part of the, okay. That
It
is
says
part of
it
the
on
VAR
the
announcements.
video board. Not the referees aren't saying that. They aren't
Okay,
saying
so
it loud,
but
but
it
in the
says
video boards it says VAR checking potential offside or something like that. Yeah.
okay. Well, okay, an announcement maybe with a little more detail, like, "Hey, we're checking whether Haji Wright was offside,"
Yeah.
or something.
Gotcha.
Which is, if I could add that change, that'd be great, because it is. I feel like there's almost that collective groan in the stands when the board just pops up with VAR review for potential handball or whatever, and then everybody goes, "Oh no."
Yeah, and I think this stuff could technically be done by the fourth official as well, right? He's on the sideline. He has time. The main referee can go over to the monitor while the fourth official explains, say, "Hey, we're checking this, and that's why." So there's different ways. I think that obviously there's still some ways to go, and that you can kind of make the whole process more transparent. That's, I think, what you're asking, right? Transparency.
Yes, that's what everybody seems to be asking for. I'm pretty sure English fans in particular are ready to go to war for transparency, because we've been tiptoeing around it. But the FA Cup semifinal, I know you didn't have an opportunity to watch it. I did. Tremendous match. Manchester United against Coventry City, which is a team in the second division of England. But in the FA Cup, everybody's playing, so they're there. And Manchester United takes a 3-0 lead. So it looks like a classic blowout. I don't even turn the game on until Coventry City scores 3 goals in the second half. And the third one is a penalty from Haji Wright, which, do you know Haji Wright? You ever crossed paths with him?
I have not, no, but obviously big time hero for the latest Nations League finals there.
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to be totally honest with you. When he was called up for the World Cup, I was stunned and bereft. But he has been playing really well since then. He's kind of a cult hero at Coventry City. He also scored his penalty in the shootout. But the reason this game went to a shootout is in the 120th minute, there was a through ball to Haji Wright.
Coventry players are in a daze here. What a brilliant ball through. Van Bissaka is keeping everybody on side. Golden points to where he'd like it. He gets it. Back of the net. Incredible. It's Tom.
It ended up being called back for offside. On the play as it continued, Haji Wright assisted what would have been a winning goal. So, speaking of celebrations, we're talking about the greatest limbs ever in Wembley. Coventry City, second division team, down 3 goals to United. They come back to win. And it is called back for an offside call that I emailed the picture to you.
Yeah.
And your thoughts upon seeing that picture. I mean, this offside, it's hard to explain to you in an audio format. The lines look like the same line. I mean, if you zoom in on it, you can't even. This frustrates me, Julian. It frustrates me endlessly.
It's toenail, right? A toenail. He should have cut his toenails before and gone down half a size in shoes.
Yes.
That's what it is, right? A half a shoe size like that.
And it's also Haji Wright on the play. Like, if you watch the actual play, he's checking back towards the ball where the defender is running towards the goal. So the timing of it is incredibly painful. I'm somebody that sits here, I'm an armchair expert, right? I'm somebody that sits here and talks about how this isn't in the spirit of the rules, right? I went on a long rant today about, like, on the playground, this is never offside. Right. In the lower leagues, no linesman is ever flagging this for offside. Haji Wright's moving this way. Wan-Bissaka's moving that way. The offside plays almost no role in the goal being scored. But I realize the rule is the rule. It is offside. I just wish that these sorts of plays could be let go. You being a player, does that sound fair to you? What I'm saying?
So correct me if I'm wrong, but the linesman kept the flag down the whole way. And then it went to VAR after they had celebrated and everything.
Exactly. It went to VAR after they'd celebrated the goal.
That's something where, the VAR is finding something where there's nothing. I don't think ever anybody, if that was something that before the VAR era and that play was happening and everybody would draw a line there, would say, he's on the same way. He's on the same line. He's not offside. He's at the same height as the defender, and it's a good goal. And Coventry goes on to the FA Cup final maybe 5 years ago. They do that, but now that's where VAR is finding things that we're not even aware of in real time. And that's certainly, I feel for Coventry in that moment. I feel for them because the technology in a sense robbed them of going to the FA Cup final and completing a tremendous comeback. But what a heartbreaking way way for them to kind of get knocked out there. And then in penalties as well, it's like the whole momentum kind of isn't going your way. You kind of like sense it, I feel like, as a player almost in these moments, to be like, yeah, this is just not going to happen, I guess.
You've already celebrated like you won the game, and then you just have to re-rack it. Like, okay, penalty shootout against Manchester United, all the pressure in the world, and we already thought we won.
Yeah, definitely a tough situation, but yeah, I don't. Those are moments where VAR is too much part of the game in my opinion. But like you're saying, also the rule is the rule, and that's what VAR was implemented for, to catch mistakes like that. And it doesn't matter if it's a toenail or if it's 10 yards.
This doesn't feel like the mistake it's supposed to catch. The problem is
true.
The problem is you have to draw the line somewhere. This is where I struggle with. Because I'm like, okay, if we want VAR to correct obvious errors, like when somebody's offside by 5 yards and the guy just doesn't see it, you want to be able to correct that. But where do you draw the line? Like, is it within a yard if the mistake isn't made, or is it within a foot if the mistake isn't made, or just a couple of centimeters? Like, you have to draw the line somewhere. I don't know where the line's supposed to be, but I know it's supposed to be farther than this. This is absurd.
Well, that's the beauty. Beauty of the offside rule. It's either offside or it's not offside, right? And then in that instance, it's so heartbreakingly close, but it's still offside at the end of the day, unfortunately,
So if you are in the VAR room, right? Because obviously we know where I stand on this. I'm not giving this. If you're in the VAR room, are you calling this offside?
I don't know. I think so, because I've sworn to be impartial and to interpret the rules as they are written. The referees say that all the time. It's like, doesn't mean I like the rules how they are, but that's the rule. Those are the rules. They mentioned that actually quite a lot, especially in those meetings at the beginning of the year. Yeah, this is a little bit stupid here, but that's how the rule's written, and that's how I have to interpret it. I'm sorry, but I'm just here to kind of an enforcer of the rules. And I'm sure that ref didn't have a good time calling that one back too.
Yeah, the VAR official is not having a good time right now. The other set of officials that are not having a good time right now are in Spain, because there was an El Clasico and there was a ton of drama in this match that we're not going to be able to get to. But there was one moment where the ball seems to go over the line. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to see this, because obviously it would have all been happening kind of the same time while you were involved with everything this weekend. But the big takeaway from this is that there is no goal line technology in La Liga, which there isn't goal line technology in MLS, obviously, but it is only 3 million euros to implement goal line technology in La Liga. I believe that it is entirely inexcusable that they have not done that, because this was not called a goal. The incident was not called a goal, even though a lot of the camera angles make it look like it went in. They couldn't prove it. And I think the stupidest thing about all of this is because they didn't have goal line technology, they actually released the audio interaction between the ref and VAR. So VAR came out after goal line technology. But you have a VAR review to determine whether it was a goal or not during El Clasico. A tremendous match that ended 3-2 with a stoppage time goal. Like, just brilliant match. In the VAR review, they released the audio, and the guy working the VAR goes, yeah, this camera angle doesn't show anything. This camera angle doesn't show anything. This camera angle doesn't show anything. And I'm like, dude, this is one of the biggest matches in the world.
Yeah.
How can we not figure out what is a goal or not? I feel like if I was on the field in that match, I'd be absolutely livid.
Yeah, but there you go back to your NFL comparisons, and they don't have the touchdown or the goal line technology in that sense there, right? They rely on camera angles too. So I don't understand why they don't have goal line technology too. There's not enough goals in soccer to not have it, in my opinion. And there's enough technology out there now, and 3 million for La Liga, I'm sure, is nothing.
Well, I looked it up. La Liga makes raw income 2 billion euros per year.
Yes. So
you can't, like, all you have to do is cut down on your catering budget. You can probably afford to get. But Javier Tebas decided not to spend any of that 2 billion euros on goal line technology for some unexplained reason.
It's a little bit mind blowing to me, where at times I'm a little bit upset that obviously there hasn't been too many controversial things in MLS here, but like, why not have it? Like I said, you have the technology. It's not that expensive from a grand scheme of things, and it provides you with a black and white answer on if it's a goal or not, which is the most important thing in the sport whatsoever. It's not like if it's offside by a toenail or not. Next year in the Premier League, you have the semi-automated offsides coming. So like, how is it not possible to have the goal line technology in almost every league that is wanting to be a serious league?
MLS is a good league, obviously. And I'm surprised personally that MLS doesn't already have goal line technology, because it's so streamlined and it's so easy and efficient. But if I'm surprised MLS doesn't have goal line technology, La Liga is arguably the best league in the world. How the hell have they not figured out how to institute that yet? Just completely blows my mind.
Yeah, for sure. I'm completely with you on that. No.
So if you're a Barcelona fan and you feel hard done today, we're with you, because it should have, I don't know, maybe. There's I spent 2 hours looking at the angles. I have no idea if the ball went in or not.
I'll console my friends and I'll ask in the locker room of what they think, but I'm sure I know their answer.
I was going to say, if Messi or Suarez or Busquets or Jordi Alba happen to bring up goal line technology, I would just agree with them for the next couple of days. I mean, put it this way. Lionel Messi, out of his personal wealth, could easily fund goal line technology in La Liga.
Well, so could Marc-Andre ter Stegen. Probably.
That's actually true. So I would have loved, because ter Stegen's the person that went out after the match, and he also kind of agreed with what we're saying. It's unbelievable they don't have it, whatever. The goalkeeper for Barcelona. It's like, yeah, so have a reporter go, do you want to pay for it? Yeah. I feel like that's what Javier Tebas is saying into his multi-million-dollar mansion. The head of La Liga is like, well, you idiots make plenty of money.
Well, I mean, we talked about this before the episode too. Real Madrid is now having these 5-story grass-growing facilities underneath the new stadium. Then you can't have goal line technology.
Exactly. If you've not looked this up, there is a full-blown nuclear facility under Real Madrid's field. Like, if you just Google Real Madrid field, you will see it's 4 stories, like actual apartment building stories under the field, directly under the field, to grow grass. I'm looking at the picture right now. I have no idea what the hell is going on. I have no idea how it works. I feel like I need a PhD just to
look
at this picture.
Yeah, it's something.
The point being, they have enough money. We do want to make sure we get to your questions. We did get, you guys are awesome. We did get a couple of questions in this week that we wanted to get to. The first is from AK Rutledge 24, who said, who is the best player Julian has played against, not currently at Inter Miami?
Oh, man. I mean, I don't play against the ones at Inter Miami, so that kind of takes out.
Well, I mean, I guess in training, they wanted to make sure you couldn't give a Lionel Messi or whatever cop-out answer.
No, for sure. I've been fortunate to play against a lot of really good players, to be honest. But I was really impressed by David Villa in New York. His movement was so smart and unbelievable off the ball, of how he created space and just all that. And so I want to say him. It's probably a fair one there. Like I said, I've played against Kaká, who scored an absolute banger against us one year in Atlanta. Who was really good.
Zlatan, I think you said you played against Zlatan.
Yeah, Zlatan, who was so aggressive and such a beast. Oh, especially in like set pieces. He would always like put his elbow right into your chest, and you would just like. Kind of like can't breathe.
He's huge. People never talked about that enough. He's like 6'5", 200 pounds, and he's got a giant lion tattoo or whatever. That dude is coming in there for some contact. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But I've played against some good ones, and I don't know who the best would be though. That's a good question.
Sounds like it was David Villa. If I'm going to pick off the description. I always liked David Villa too as a player, because I also thought he came to MLS, and some guys come to MLS and don't take it as seriously, especially kind of in that era a little while ago. but he came to MLS and he was playing his butt off in this league.
Yeah, and that's what, like I said, I was impressed by kind of his work rate and his movement, so smart. And that, it's something that just kind of stuck with me. Yeah.
And we have a second question. It's from Bogdan. Asks, Julian, who was your idol growing up?
So for me, the 2006 World Cup was really, really influential in Germany. I was 13 at the time, and before then, didn't really have like this big idol, but obviously it was in Germany, so it was a really big tournament for us. And one of the stars there was Bastian Schweinsteiger for the German national team. And he, at the time, was still playing as a winger, and then later on moved more inside as a central midfielder. So he was, ever since that moment, he was my idol, besides the likes of, you talk about Messi and those kind of top players in the world, right? But Xavi, Iniesta, the Barcelona era throughout those years was incredible to watch. But Bastian Schweinsteiger is someone that I would name probably as my idol growing up. And luckily I got to play against him. I got to meet him. I got to talk to him and actually joke around with him quite a lot as well. And it was something that playing against him and Chicago Fire only validated that, where like he's also such a good guy and such a funny guy that I absolutely loved meeting my idol in that moment and kind of playing against him.
Did his ears kind of perk up? Yeah, well, that always helps. Did his ears kind of perk up when you started speaking in German to him? Did he just go, oh, whoa?
Yeah, well, in the beginning, he didn't know I was German. The first time we played against each other, I think he was pretty new to the league. We were with Atlanta. I was in Atlanta, and I was like, oh, like, just have a good game in German to him. And he was like, what? Like, kind of confused before the game. So then right after, or even at the end of the game, I think we were actually lost. I was talking to him a little bit more in German, and then he kind of opened up a little bit, and I got his jersey and got to talk to him after in the locker room. It was ever since then, ever since he saw me, every time he saw me, he would like joke around, and he would like say that I'm obviously from Franconia and then he's from Munich, from Bavaria. So it'd be like a little bit of heckling going on and a little just a fun jabs, which is cool. Those memories always make me smile a lot. So I'm happy that question came, because it made me happy here towards the end of the episode. I love that.
No, that is an awesome story. And it's great to hear also, because there's always so many horror stories. You meet your idol and he sucks, but like, it's great to hear that he's just a great guy too.
Yeah.
And he's just very welcoming and nice and everything.
Did you watch one guy particularly growing up, or as you kind of move through the years,
so
or was it more general teams?
Yeah, so I there's two directions to go with this, because obviously I work in media now, but when you're a little kid, obviously it's all sports. And I played, as unathletic as I may seem, sitting in this chair all day playing video games. I played 5 sports in high school and was very into being an athlete in one of them. My dad was a collegiate athlete. He was a swimmer in college. And so there was like that in the household, like that aspiration to try and achieve something. Yeah. My favorite sport was actually basketball. And soccer developed kind of later on, because I actually quit the basketball team. But in basketball, I was 12 years old. I went to the doctor's office. And I'll never forget it. The doctor looked me in the eyes and he was like, they do that height projection thing. I don't know if this happened to you guys growing up in Germany, but they'll like tell you how tall you're supposed to be in the US. I don't know if this is weird or normal. And basically I went to the doctor's office, and at 12 years old, I was already 6'2", which is about 190 or 180, somewhere from 187 to 190 on the like centimeter scale. And so he looked at me and he's like, you're going to be 6'8". And I was like, really? And my dad was like, so basketball? I was like, hell yeah. Okay. And then of course, I am not joking. I have not grown another inch since then. I've been the same height since I was 12 years old, but I loved basketball. I used to I'd shoot the ball 100 times a day in the driveway and do all the dribbling drills and all that. I played all the way through high school, and I still play pickup games in New York all the time. Even though I never got any taller, which is tough. So my dad is also still an inch taller than me, which is also brutal, because I was supposed to be way taller than him. So my heroes is kind of in basketball. And my dad's from Chicago. So there's a pretty obvious answer to where this is going. When I was a little kid, my dad took me, when I was like 1 year old, my dad took me to a game in Jordan's final season in Chicago at the Madhouse on Madison. I always loved the way that Jordan played the game. He was so predatory. It was he was like attacking the people he was playing against. Kind of the way you were describing Zlatan, where it's not just physical, it was also mental. It was just this, there was this aggression. And I like to think I'm super chill and easy to get along with, but when I'm playing pickup basketball, I'm very mean, and it all comes from just that Michael Jordan kind of thing. In soccer, though, I was a goalkeeper, which I took too late. But the person I always used to study, only reason I want to bring this up is outside of Michael Jordan, it was Manuel Neuer, because he is the only goalkeeper I've ever seen that never looked rattled. And I was always in love with, he always seemed to be in control and doing exactly the thing that he wanted to be doing. And I loved that. So, cool. Yes, I didn't get to play against them or never met either of them, but that was, those are my answers. That's awesome. But we've kept, so that's your Zealand lore for the day. We kept you waiting long enough though. Who won the Julian Gressel signed jersey? Thank you to everybody that left comments. Obviously, we really appreciate all the love that came from this giveaway, but I'm not going to keep you waiting any longer. Congratulations to Vice City Lucas. You are now the proud owner of a new signed Julian Gressel jersey. Get in touch with us on Instagram. We are going to be sending you a message as well. So as long as you're listening to this or you have your DMs open, we will be able to coordinate getting you the jersey. Julian, has the jersey been signed?
I'm going to purchase it on whatever size he wants. So like he'll get the size he wants. True. So please, Michael, our producer, make sure that you get him the right size, and then I will sign wherever he likes as well, and I'll get it really, really customized for however he wants it. So
I'm expecting like a whole piece of artwork all over the back of the jersey. You know, you're drawing your favorite scene of
if
you
that's
assisting.
What he wants, he'll get it. No, I'm just kidding. It'll be a signature. That's all I can do. But congratulations. Thanks for everybody that entered and commented, that followed, all these things. We love all the support. We really appreciate it.
And Julian, good luck and have fun in Boston this week.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you guys for listening. That's it for today. Questions, comments, complaints, you can always hit us up on Instagram at Player Manager Pod. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast. It is a huge help because this is only the 7th time we've ever done this. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you all next week. Thanks for listening.